the sense of disempowerment and the sense of hope throughout the world is so huge. After 2 years of genocide, on the one hand, live streaming in 4K to our phones, and on the other hand, total impunity for people. And I wanted to prove to myself on those points that we don't have to just sit back and watch entire ethnically eradicated by racist hard-on genocide erosion, but there are things we can do that we can reclaim the kind of agency of our own bodies in the context of genocide. We can put ourselves on the front line.
Israel is launching another apocalyptic phase of the genocide in Gaza. The Israeli army is surrounding Gaza City right now and ordering the people who live there to evacuate south. Hundreds of thousands of people who are still residing in Gaza City right now are facing death day and night. Israel kills at least 100 Palestinians every day. And Al Jazeera says that at least 435 Palestinians starved to death. My relatives and friends who live in Gaza City tell me that they don't even find any empty land in the south of Gaza to erect their tents. In the meantime, hundreds of other activists who are coming from all around the world are now sailing to Gaza to try to break the siege. One of these activists is my friend, a journalist and a political commentator. His name is Kieran Andrieu, and he is joining me now from Sumud Flotilla. Kieran, thank you very much for joining me today.
Always an absolute pleasure, Ahmed, and I miss you.
Well, Kieran, many of the people in Gaza, hundreds and thousands of people in Gaza are now waiting to hear the news from you, from the Sumud Flotilla. They're waiting eagerly to meet you in Gaza. So thank you very much for doing this. This is very courageous. All of you are very, very brave people, and we really appreciate it. I'm saying that on behalf of the people in Gaza. Thank you very much for doing it. And Kieran, many of us are following your news from afar. And can you please, at first, update us on your journey so far? How many people are coming with you, and how many ships are you now?
So, first of all, we're drawn from 44 nations. I lost count, but I think it was at the present moment, 42 boats drawn from 3 legs, starting with Barcelona, then continuing with Tunisia, Tunis, and now south of Italy. So 3 legs, 44 countries, 42 boats. Journey so far has been, as you would expect for a civilian fleet. We of course have professional A-list captain crew, but this is otherwise a civil society mission prize for ordinary people after an animal. That is, such a project like this ought to be undertaken by government. It ought to have been governments breaking the blockade and the genocide in Gaza, and because governments have failed and because international institutions failed, ordinary people in all of their chaos, well-meaning chaos, and all of their amateurishness and so on, have had to elevate themselves, rise up, fill that vacuum left by governments and institutions. And so, there are many of the kind of outcomes that we would expect to arise from that. There's logistical problems, there are complexities, there are things that move out. But ultimately, these vessels, someone predicted me the other day, vessels of humanity. And humanity contains all of those contradictions, all of those tensions, all of those ironies, but is also, beautiful and well-being, passionate, and so on. That's what I see my own eye, even my own ears, on these boats. Everybody's so passionately committed, breaking from Israel's siege and to try to bring some modicum of relief to people in Gaza who have obviously suffered monstrosities like what I can probably to imagine.
And Kieran, many public figures and celebrities are also joining you, very brave and courageous people. But who else do you want to join you in the next flotilla?
So is this like a
The
sort
Pope, for example?
can I pick anybody dead or living?
Yes.
So if it's anybody dead or living, I tell you what, I'll try and make it semi-relevant. In other words, I'll try and pick people who plausibly could come on a flotilla one time next time, and then I'll pick one dead person. So I would have Sally Rooney, Gary Lineker, and Edward Said.
Edward Said.
Edward Said.
Okay. And Kieran, from our past experiences, we know that the Israeli army would always intercept these boats. Greta Thunberg, when she managed to go to Gaza last time, she was arrested and she was deported back. Previous Freedom Flotillas, they were attacked. Many people in these ships were killed by Israel. So you understand that what you are doing right now is a risk. It could put you in a potential risk. Maybe some of you might be hurt, some of you might be kidnapped by Israel, but still you're doing it not, despite that. Why are you doing this, Kieran?
Because the sense of disempowerment and the sense of hope throughout the world is so huge. After 2 years of genocide, on the one hand, live streaming in 4K to our phones, and on the other hand, total impunity for total impunity in the midst of the international community. And not just impunity, but profiteers via Israel of the extermination of an entire ethnic people, which you and I happen to belong to, Ahmed. But I would feel, and I'm sure you would feel just as animated if this were happening to an ethnic group to which we didn't happen to belong.
Mm.
So that sense of disempowerment, that sense of hopelessness, the sort of identity, we can't do anything as human beings. That's false. That's false. And I wanted to prove to myself that it was false. That we don't have to just sit back and watch an entire ethnic radical, racist, hard-on genocide revolution. But there are things we can do that we can reclaim the kind of agency of our own bodies in the context of genocide. We can put ourselves on the front line, and though we will never ever even begin to approximate the kind of physical suffering or have our bodies on the front line in a way that Palestinians are forced, we can still show through our principal person an act of solidarity that goes beyond all of the other very valuable things that we do, speaking on television, talking about something that puts ourselves on the front line.
Kieran, what are you taking with you to the people of Gaza? What are you carrying in your ships?
We have medicines. We have an assortment of basic medicines, which people in Gaza have been denied by blockade. Not just since September 7th. I mean, I don't need to tell you this, but for 20 years, and actually before, since the early 90s, with many medicines and food stuff, when people both denied. No reason other than a desire to lord arbitrary power over the people. So we're bringing medicines, we're bringing basic dry food stuff, include rice, things that they desperately need. We've got some teddy bears, coin, basic coin for children as well, which really breaks my heart. I mean, it's easy to lose sight of the fact because we're understandably also concentrated on abject horror and on families, children, and so on. We think about that. We think about getting food, and we think about getting water, medicine, and that's right. That has to make precedent. But when you take a step back and you, at least for me, when I reflect on the fact that we were bringing oil anyway, it reminds you that these are children. We were once children. And we know that what we long for are tender things, tenderness, softening, things that make us more loved. So that's really heartbreaking.
Kieran, and this Sumud Flotilla, it really represents the global solidarity. But do you think this is enough? What do you want other politicians and governments from all around the world to do? Should it be up to you to go and sail and risk your life to go to Gaza? Or should it actually be the government's responsibilities to send their navies to Gaza and break the siege?
In answer to your question directly, no, this is absolutely not enough. What we will do at very, very best is breach the illegal genocidal siege by opening a humanitarian corridor in the sea, in which we hope, as I say, best case scenario, people can then circulate through and bring more aid. But that is still, forgive the pun, going to be a drop in the ocean. It is not going to be sufficiently desperate, illegal genocide with people of Gaza who had suffered in its most extreme form of Israeli terror and racism over the past 2 years, and in a different form for many, many years before that. So no, this is absolutely insufficient almost the world. We are doing the maximum that we can do. It is absolutely insufficient and incommensurate in relation to the nature of the challenge. The only organization, the only centers of agency in our world that have the resources to meet the scale of the challenge are governments, our states, our international institutions, even NGOs of major charities with multinational presence, international presence, don't have the resources to scale this challenge. Only states. And the first step of that, although we are a completely, and I want to emphasize this, I know that there's been a lot of Hasbara going around that we're linked to, terrorists, all that fucking nonsense, excuse my language. We are a non-violent organization, we're a non-violent movement, it's a non-violent humanitarian effort that we're presiding in. But the first step of being able to meet the scale of the challenge in Gaza for governments, for states, that have the resources, I repeat, is to remove the gatekeeper, the genocidal gatekeeper called Israel.
And Kieran, so many thousands and thousands of average people who have been watching this genocide unfold for the past 2 years are feeling now a lot of, they're feeling a sense of hopelessness. What is your message to them?
I understand the hopelessness, and I understand the sense of almost nihilism at this point, but it's the wrong emotion and it's the wrong sense. Palestinians wake up every day in Gaza and they find something to live for. They find the reason to leave. They find something that gives them hope. And so they survive for those unpredictable conditions. The least that I can do as a very privileged Palestinian by comparison with our brothers and sisters, the least that I can do is, however despairing I feel at the horror that seem to be allowed to receive other benefits, the least that I can do is not become demoralized by it, not become dispirited. If I can, I try to use it to the best of my ability. And I'm only human, so I'm not saying I'm always necessarily good at it. I'm sure, like you, Ahmed, I have my bleak days, my Rambo, and I try on my better day to sublimate that hopelessness or despair, turn it into something that fuels my anger and my sense of determination. And if people can get to a place like that, I urge them to try to work towards something like that, because only Israel, on one hand, is consolidating its power over the Palestinians. On the other hand, the international community, you get a real sense of collapse as well, in terms of exact. You get a sense that more and more states are beginning to respond to pressure from below and, considering whether to cut supply chains. And when that starts to happen en masse, when that starts to happen internationally, when that starts to happen among Israel's traditional allies, it will really, really put enormous pressure on Israel either to reverse course or, I think more likely, because I don't think Israel's going to reverse, or if I think it's on genocidal, full genocidal trajectory, more likely it will precipite up the rate of decline of the Zionist supremacist Israel. And that is what we all need to be focusing on. It doesn't seem like it because the violence against Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem is so abject. It doesn't seem like it because Israel can apparently bomb its regional neighbors and get away with it. But actually, I think Israel is doing all of these things because it knows that it can borrow funds. It knows that it's got every single last friend in the international community. And that actually, sooner or later, that is going to translate into action. It's going to translate into material political change.
Many people think that your move, this Sumud Flotilla, is just a symbolic move and it will not achieve anything in real life. What is your response to these people?
Well, it's very possible that we don't change anything. I mean, as I said, it is insufficient. What we're doing is insufficient, but at least we're bloody trying. I say to people who say it's not going to do anything, it's not going to change anything, I say, well, neither is your armchair activist. You know, I mean, it's not incumbent on everybody to get on a boat to go to sail to Gaza. I understand that lots of people can't do that for various reasons. And actually, everyone on on these boats understands that. But there's a degree of privilege involved in coming on boats because we know that the genocidal racist regime that is Israel will treat people from the global south differently, or people who live in global north, so-called, but from non-white ethnic background. We know that they will treat them differently than they will white counterparts. Everybody on these boats is acutely aware of all of those intersectionalities. We're aware of that. We're conscious of what we're sensitive for. But I don't sit here preaching to anybody. I don't say anybody has to get on a boat. We're all playing our part. Those of us committed Palestinian justice, destroying Israel from this regime. We're all playing our part. Nonetheless, the people who critique I say, we agree that it's insufficient. I agree that it's insufficient. I've said that all along. I don't want to be here. I would rather live in a world where this were not necessary. You know, people are endangering their lives with that. Speaking for myself, you know, I'm not a sailor. I don't spend much time at sea. And though my uncle does sail a lot, I don't think I'll be taking him up on his future offers to go out sailing with him because it's not really my thing. I don't want to, you know, run loads and loads of diamonds. We're doing it because we feel that it's one expression of showing solidarity with people of Gaza and one way of trying with our own small insufficient well of filling the void that governments, international left trying to reach genocidal reach of Gaza.
Finally, Kieran, it pains me to say that, but I think most likely Israel will intercept this Sumud Flotilla. I say it with a heavy heart. But let's imagine for a moment that a miracle happened and Israel allowed you to go to Gaza. And you understand that Gaza is a war-torn place right now. If you go to Gaza and you meet the people in Gaza, what would you say to them?
I would say, I'm so sorry that it's taken us nearly 2 years to get to you. I would say, I don't have the words to express the shame and guilt and horror that so many tens of millions of people around the world feel that we have allowed the pen in this cave and exterminate black dogs. I solemnly commit that I will spend the rest of my life, however long that could be, trying with every sinew in my body, every fiber of my being, try and free you and to respond to your calls, your desperate calls for international solidarity, to try and throw off my own government's involvement in your exploitation and extermination, and of course, to try and throw off the violent, oppressive, genocidal violence. I would say that for what it's worth, they've got here and getting a passionate friend in me the rest of their lives and the rest of my life, and that this won't be the last time that we'll come back.
Kieran, thank you for doing what you're doing. Really, you are a very, very brave man. You are more brave, a million times more brave than me. I could never do such a step. So, really, thank you for doing this. And thank you for amplifying the Palestinian voices and speaking on behalf of them. But you're one of us.
Let me just say this,
Yeah.
final words. Coming from you, having me, that means a lot, but I don't agree with the sentiment. I think you're braver than all of us put together what you've been through. And let me tell you as well that I view this as a small down payment towards the debt that we all collectively owe Gaza and the people of Gaza. That includes you, so much love to you, okay?
Thank you very, very much for joining me today. And I really wish you a very, very safe journey. Thank you.
Glad you're a brother, and I hope to see you on the other side. I'll see you when I'm back in the UK.
Inshallah. Thank you very much.